The chamber of the Galactic Council trembled with voices. 1,000 alien delegates filled the vast amphitheater, their scales, feathers, and metallic hides glowing under the council lights. Holoscreens showed burning star systems. Civilian. Ships fleeing, cities crumbling, billions crying for rescue. Every voice spoke at once. The Vehlon have taken the Arden system. They move too fast. We cannot stop them. They will burn us all. High above, the Chancellor of the Council pounded his staff. The echoes rang like thunder until the voices died away. His long, silver face looked drained, his eyes hollow with fear. Silence, he whispered. We must decide. The galaxy is falling. Who will save us? A heavy silence spread. The delegates shifted uneasily. They all knew the truth. No one could stop the Vehlon. Their fleets were endless, their soldiers merciless. Already, 24 empires had fallen, and still the Vehlon advanced. In the front row, a corps admiral stood. His mandibles clicked with nervous rage. The Concordance fleets are shattered. The Ilari worlds are burning. We have no hope unless we unite. Another delegate scaled. And cold-eyed hissed back, unite under what banner? No power remains strong enough to face them. And then slowly, every eye turned to the great round table in the chamber's center. There, among the symbols of each great empire, stood an empty chair. Its surface was dark, unpolished, as if it had not been touched for centuries. Above it hung a single emblem, an old, faded blue and white flag of Earth. The silence deepened. Humans, someone whispered. They are gone, another spat. Extinct. Their worlds are dust. They abandoned us long ago. Yet the empty chair remained, glowing faintly in the light, like a wound that never healed. The Chancellor spoke again, his voice shaking. If the humans still lived, perhaps they could stand against the Vehlon. But humanity is only a myth now. We must face the truth. There is no hope. But before he could strike his staff again, the great holoscreens flickered. For a heartbeat, the chamber turned red. Static hissed. The delegates froze, and then a signal appeared. A faint transmission, broken and distorted. Symbols none had seen in centuries. A language long forgotten by most of the galaxy. But the tone, the rhythm was unmistakable, a human transmission. The council chamber erupted in shock. That is impossible. Humans are gone. It must be a trick, delegates shouted, wings flaring, claws clashing against tables. Some trembled with fear, others with desperate hope. The holoscreen showed coordinates deep in the uncharted edge of space, near the ruins of Sol. The signal repeated, faint but steady. As though waiting to be answered, the Corps Admiral leaned forward, his mandibles clicking. If this is real, humanity may yet live. We must investigate. No, another shouted. Is bait the Vehlon? Want us to waste time chasing ghosts? The Chancellor trembled, gripping his staff. Humans vanished 500 years ago. Their fleets disappeared, their colonies abandoned. If they lived, why remain silent until now? Whispers spread like fire. Some believed the humans had, hidden in fear. Others said they had fled beyond the galaxy, and he mocked the thought they could return at all. But among the youngest delegates sat Lair, a scholar of the Zell people. Her violet eyes locked onto the signal, her heart's pounding. She had studied ancient records, legends of the Deathworlders. She knew the old tales. Humans fought wars no other species could survive. They turned worlds of fire and ice into homes. They were not fragile, as some claimed. They were terrifying, and now the signal pulsed again, like a heartbeat returning from the grave. Outside the chamber, billions watched the Council's broadcast. Across the galaxy, alien citizens saw the human symbol flash across their holoscreens. Some laughed. Some wept. But all remembered the same stories whispered by their ancestors. Humans never surrendered. Humans never bowed. Humans fought until the stars themselves shook. Could it be true? Could they still be alive? Back inside, the counselors raged on. If the humans live, why would they help us? One demanded. They were always dangerous, cried another. They will only bring more war. But still no one dared to touch the empty chair. The Chancellor finally raised his staff once more. His voice was heavy, defeated. "We cannot waste our strength on ghosts. The Vehlon are at our gates. This signal, whatever it may be, irrelevant. The age of humans is over." And yet, even as he spoke, the holoscreens flickered again. The signal grew stronger. The sound deepened, the static clearing. 3 words, sharp and chilling, echoed through the chamber in ancient English. "This is Earth." The council chamber froze. Every delegate felt their breath catch, every heart pound. It was impossible yet. Undeniable. Humanity had spoken. The Chancellor dropped his staff. His eyes were wide, his hands shaking. No, it cannot be. But it was. For the first time in centuries, Earth had answered. Outside, across the galaxy, billions of citizens replayed the signal. 3 words, carried through the void like thunder. This is Earth. Civilizations trembling under the Vehlon war machine paused, their fear shaken by something stronger hope. Even the Vehlon themselves saw the transmission. Their commanders sneered. "So the ghosts rise again, and let us crush them before they wake." But in the shadows of the uncharted stars, a vast shape stirred. Engines that had slept for centuries whispered back to life. Humanity was not gone. Humanity had only been waiting. The Galactic Council stares at the screens, silent, every word lost in their throats. The old human emblem glows brighter on the empty chair, as though daring them to believe, and somewhere deep in the black void beyond the edge of known space, something enormous turns its gaze back toward the galaxy. The humans have returned. The Galactic Council chamber had fallen into silence. The words, "This is Earth," still echoed in the minds of every delegate. For centuries, humans had been nothing more than a memory, a ghost of the past. And yet, their voice had returned. But silence did not last long. The chamber erupted again. "This is a trick," Scale-Devarian delegate shouted, his wings rattling in fury. "The Vehlon planted this," roared another. "They want us divided." Others muttered nervously, their eyes darting to the empty human chair. The Chancellor, pale and trembling, struck his staff once more. "Enough. We must decide the truth. If this signal is real, it changes everything. If it is false, it could cost us precious time." The holoscreens pulsed again. Symbols scrolled down, coordinates flickering through the static, a path across forgotten space. A call to anyone who could understand. Laura, the young Zell scholar, leaned forward in her seat. Her violet eyes glowed with excitement, though her heart pounded with fear. She whispered, barely audible, "They are calling us." From the edge of Sol, the older delegates mocked her instantly. "Naive child," barked an Ilari noble. "Do you think the humans would ask for us?" They vanished. They do not care for this galaxy. But Lara shook her head, her voice steady. "No. Look. At the encryption, Fasay, ancient Earth code, from before their disappearance. The Vehlon cannot fake this. It is too old, too human." The council fell quiet again. Suspicion battled with curiosity. Finally, the Corps Admiral clicked his mandibles and said, "Then we must follow it. If it is true, humanity could be our salvation." Gasps erupted. "Madness. They are dangerous. They will destroy us all." The Chancellor closed his eyes. His voice trembled. "We cannot risk what little we have left. The Vehlon advance on the Varn cluster as we speak. We must protect what remains, not chase shadows." But Laura could not let go. She had spent her life studying the old human records. The stories of their resilience, their stubbornness, their strange ability to rise when others would fall. If they truly lived, the galaxy might have a chance. That night, while the council argued endlessly, Ella Ray sat alone in her chambers. The signal replayed on her holoscreen. Over and over the words echoed, "This is Earth." She stared at the coordinates, her hands trembling. No official fleet would be sent. The council was too afraid, too divided. But she could go. she whispered to herself. If no one else believes, then I must. Her mind was made up. Lara's ship was small, a scout vessel meant for research, not battle. Its hull shimmered in soft silver, built for speed and stealth. As she programmed the coordinates, a warning flashed. Uncharted space. I risk, da-da. She ignored it. As the engines roared to life, she sent one last message to the Council. I will find the truth. And if I do not return, then at least you will know. The humans are gone, but if I do... She cut the transmission, and with a burst of light, her ship vanished into warp. The journey was long and lonely. She crossed abandoned sectors where ruined colonies floated like graveyards. Silent ships drifted in the dark, their lights cold. For centuries, Laura whispered to herself. Did humans pass here? Did they build these colonies? Did they fall? Or did they leave on purpose? Her ship trembled as it entered a region no one dared to map. A storm of broken stars, where gravity twisted like knives. Navigation alarms screamed, but she pushed forward. At last, the coordinates approached. Her breath caught. There beyond the nebulous, something stirred. The void ahead was not empty. Shadows moved. Gigantic, impossible shadows. Her scanners failed instantly, overwhelmed by interference. But her eyes did not lie. Ships larger than any she had ever seen floated in the dark. They dwarfed her vessel, their hulls scarred by time, yet still alive. Engines hummed faintly, like sleeping giants breathing in their slumber. Lara's heart hammered. It's true, she whispered. They are here. She guided her ship closer, unable to breathe. The vessels bore symbols faded with age flags. Names, numbers, all, written in the ancient human tongue. Da-da-da-da. The letters glowed faintly on their hulls, like whispers from history. She docked at a massive station, orbiting a dead star. Its metal walls were cracked, but light still flickered within. With shaking hands, she stepped inside. The air smelled stale, heavy with dust and old energy. Her footsteps echoed down vast corridors. Then she found them cryo-pods, thousands. Of them, rows upon rows, stretching farther than her eyes could see. Inside each pod lay a human, pale, silent, frozen in time. Her voice trembled as she pressed her hand to the glass of one pod. So it's true, humanity did not die. They slept. And then one pod hissed. Lights flickered. A figure stirred. A woman sat up slowly, her dark eyes opening, sharp and cold. She looked at Larae, confusion in her gaze. Her voice was hoarse, but firm. Report. How long have we slept? Laura's breath caught in her throat. She stammered. Centuries. The galaxy is burning. The Vehlon. They are destroying everything. The woman's expression hardened. She swung her legs from the pod and stood tall, her presence commanding. I am Admiral Mara Sayeed, Earth Fleet Command, she said. Her voice carried steel. If the Vehlon march, then war has come again. Alarms blared suddenly through. The station, red lights flashed. Lara's ship relayed a warning. Unidentified vessels inbound. Mara's eyes narrowed. Who followed you? Through the station's windows, shadows appeared in the nebula. Vehlon warships, sleek and deadly, emerging one by one. Their weapons glowed as they locked onto the human fleet. Lara's voice shook. They found us. Mara's lips curved into a thin smile. Her voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. Then, it seems, she said, humanity wakes just in time. The Vehlon fleet begins its approach, weapons ready to erase the last remnants of Earth. Lara trembles in fear. But beside her, Admiral Mara Sayeed simply watches, her eyes hard as steel. The sleeping giants are stirring. Humanity is not finished. The galaxy has no idea what is about to awaken. The nebula outside the station glowed blood red as Vehlon warships emerged from the mist. Their sleek black hulls cut across the stars, their weapons charging with a deadly hum. Inside the ancient station, Lara's heart raced. Her hands shook as she stared at Admiral Mara Sayeed. The human stood tall, calm as stone, her dark eyes fixed on the enemy ships. You don't understand, Larae whispered, her voice trembling. The Vehlon never lose. They have conquered every world. They'll kill us all before we can escape. Mara didn't flinch. She tilted her head slightly, studying the fleet as though it were nothing more than a puzzle. How many ships? Laura glanced at the scanner on her wrist. 6 destroyers.
Armies?
2 cruisers. Enough to? Not enough. Mara interrupted coldly. Lara blinked, stunned by the human's words. Not enough? Mara's lips curved into the faintest smile. They came to find ghosts. They'll leave knowing humans are no ghosts at all. The alarms echoed through the station. More cryopods flickered to life, across the vast halls. Men and women stirred, rising after centuries of silence. Their breaths filled the cold air, their voices low and hoarse. Engineers, soldiers, officers, faces hard and unyielding, as if time itself had failed to wear them down. Mara walked among them like a commander returning to her throne. Her voice rang clear. Earthfleet, stand ready. The galaxy still burns, and humanity is not finished. The soldiers saluted, their movements sharp even after centuries of sleep. Ra could only stare in awe. This was no fragile species. This was a storm waiting to be unleashed. Outside, the Vehlon ships hailed the station. Their leader's voice boomed through comes cruel and mocking. Unidentified station, surrender immediately. You harbor a primitive relic. Surrender, and your deaths will be quick. Laura froze, expecting Mara to respond with fear, but the human admiral only turned to her officers. Power the reactors. Wake the fleet. Engines that had slept for centuries roared back to life. The station trembled as one by one, colossal. Warships stirred. Their silhouettes emerged from the nebula massive human battleships, their hulls scarred but intact. Their cannons glowing faintly like eyes opening after a long dream. Laura gasped. There are hundreds, no, thousands. Mara nodded. Only the first wave. The others will come. The Vehlon commander's laughter filled the coms. You wake, old rust. Do you think antiques will save you? Our weapons will tear them apart. Mara finally spoke, her voice calm, sharp as a blade. You should not have come here. The first Vehlon destroyer moved in. Its cannons glowed, spewing lances of plasma that tore across the void. The blasts struck one of the awakening human ships. But instead of crumbling, the old vessel's shields flared bright blue, absorbing the attack with ease. On its bridge, human officers activated systems long dormant. The ship's weapons hummed, ancient technology burning with terrifying new life. Single cannon fired a beam of white light so bright it cut through the nebula. The Vehlon destroyer exploded instantly. Lalel recovered in silence. Laurel covered her mouth, her eyes wide. She had seen fleets fall, empires crumble, but never had she seen such overwhelming power from a single shot. The human crew didn't cheer. They didn't smile. They only reset their systems, preparing for the next strike. So this was routine. The Vehlon commander's laughter was gone. His voice cracked. Impossible. That technology, no one could maintain it for centuries. Mara replied coldly. No one but us. The battle exploded into chaos. The lone cruisers fired volleys, their plasma tearing across the void. But the human fleet moved with precision, ships forming tight lines, covering each other, striking back with surgical fire. One human ship unleashed a black missile. It didn't explode, it folded space itself, dragging an entire Vehlon cruiser into a collapsing void. The cruiser vanished, erased as though it had never existed. Another human vessel deployed swarms of drones. Tiny machines moving faster than light, slicing through enemy hulls like knives through cloth. Elra gripped the edge of the console, her breath coming in gasps. The humans fought like no one else. Every move was ruthless, efficient, unstoppable. The Vehlon had crushed countless civilizations. But here, for the first time, they hesitated. Their formation broke. Fear bled into their voices. This cannot be happening. They are only humans. They were supposed to be gone. On the station, Laura turned to Mara, her voice trembling. How? How did you do this? How did your people survive? Mara's gaze stayed fixed on the battlefield. We were never gone. We prepared. We waited. When the galaxy abandoned us, we made a choice to sleep until the war that mattered most came to us. Her eyes narrowed, and it has. Vehlon cruiser tried to flee. Engines flared as it turned into the nebula. But a single human warship pursued, its cannons locking on. Mara raised her hand. Let one go. Her officers hesitated. Admiral, she nodded once. Fear's a weapon. Let them tell their masters humanity has returned. The cruiser escaped into warp, fleeing into the dark. Inside the station, silence fell once more. The Vehlon were gone. The human fleet floated victorious, their weapons cooling, their engines steady. Laura sank to her knees, overwhelmed. The galaxy, she knew, had just changed. Mara turned to her, her voice low but sharp. You will go back to your council. You will tell them what you saw. Humanity has returned, and we will not kneel. Lyra stared at her, unable to speak. Mara's eyes hardened. Do you understand? Tell them. The Deathworlders are awake. As Lara's ship prepared to leave, she looked once more at the colossal human fleet, glowing like a storm behind the nebula. She realized the council would not believe her, not until they saw it for themselves. And far away, the Vehlon commanders, gathered listening to their frightened survivors report, their laughter was gone. Their voices trembled, because for the first time in centuries, the galaxy whispered a name with fear and awe. Humanity. The galaxy was buzzing. Every news channel, every broadcast, every shadowed tavern where soldiers drank in fear, replayed. The same images, human warships tearing through Vehlon destroyers as if they were made of glass. The Galactic Council had seen it too. The once empty human chair now burned with meaning. Delegates argued, wings flaring, claws slamming against. Tables, they returned, one shouted. Impossible. They were supposed to be gone. They will bring balance. Or destruction. But above the noise, one truth remained. Humanity was awake, and they had chosen war. Back in the nebula, the human fleet stirred like a storm. Admiral Mara Sayeed stood at the command deck of her flagship, resolute. Her hands rested behind her. Back, her gaze steady. Lara stood beside her, still trembling from what she had seen. Admiral, she whispered. The Vehlon, it will not stop. They'll come with everything they have. Mara nodded. Good. Let them. Her calmness terrified Lara more than any Vehlon ship ever had. The warning came swiftly. Dozens of Vehlon warships entered the sector. This time they came ready for battle. Cruisers, carriers, and a dreadnought with a hull blacker than void itself. Their weapons gleamed like suns about to be born. The Vehlon. Commander's voice thundered across the comms, dripping with arrogance. Humans, ghosts, you dare rise from your grave. We will erase you again. This time nothing will remain. Lara's hands shook. She leaned toward Mara. We must retreat. We cannot stand against this many ships. Not yet. But Mara didn't move. Her voice was low, controlled, like the stillness before a storm. Let them fire first. The Vehlon dreadnought's cannons glowed bright red. Energy built until the void itself seemed to crackle. Then, with a roar, the first volley fired giant plasma beams that ripped toward the human fleet. Every alien watching across the galaxy whispered the same. Thought no fleet could survive that. The beams struck. Light swallowed the human ships. Laura gasped, covering her face. For a moment, all she saw was fire. Then the flames cleared, and the humans were still there. Their shields shimmered blue and gold, burning but unbroken. Mara spoke at last, her eyes never left the enemy fleet. Now, strike.
Ow.
The void lit up. Human battleships unleashed their fury. Colossal beams of white fire cut through Vehlon cruisers, splitting them like stone under a hammer. Missiles twisted through space, bending gravity, tearing holes in dreadnought armor. Swarms of drones poured from hidden bays, each one carrying a warhead powerful enough to flatten cities in seconds. Half the Vehlon formation was gone. Lara could barely breathe. This is impossible. Mara's voice cut like steel. This is war. Human war. The Vehlon dreadnought retaliated, launching swarms of its own. Its cannons struck, destroying a human escort ship. For a heartbeat, it seemed the Vehlon still had strength, but Mara raised her hand. "Bring Leviathan online." From behind the nebula's shadow, a giant stirred, ship larger than cities. Its hull glowed with ancient runes of Earth. Engines roaring like thunder, the Leviathan fired once. A beam of pure light split the Vehlon dreadnought from bow to stern. The great vessel cracked in silence, then burst apart in fire. Billions watching across the galaxy gasped. Some cheered. Some wept. Others trembled with fear, because the humans were not only back, they were stronger than before. Inside the council chamber, chaos exploded. The Deathworlders have returned. They cannot be allowed to lead us. They will save us. They will enslave us. The empty chair glowed brighter on the holofeed. For the first time in centuries, Earth's presence filled the council once more. On the battlefield, the last Vehlon ships turned to flee. Mara watched in silence, her jaw tight. "Let to escape," she commanded. Her officers exchanged confused looks. "Admiral, they must carry the message," Mara said. Her voice was like ice. "The galaxy must know humanity has returned, and the Vehlon must learn fear." The remaining Vehlon ships warped away, vanishing into the dark. Lorray turned to her, shaken. Why show mercy? Mara finally looked at her, eyes cold as steel. "Mercy? No, fear is sharper than death. When the Vehlon tell their masters what they saw, the galaxy will tremble." Her voice grew quieter, almost a whisper. "This is only the first strike." Across alien worlds, screens replayed the battle again and again. Children gasped at the sight of human ships. Soldiers whispered of joining them. Leaders argued whether to fear or follow, but one truth spread faster than fire through the stars. The humans had returned in the deep halls of Vehlon High Command, where warlords gathered. The survivors knelt, trembling, as they described the human fleet, the impossible weapons. The dreadnought shattered in a single shot. For the first time in history, the Vehlon fell silent, and then their overlords, the hidden masters who ruled. Behind the shadows spoke with a voice that froze even the fiercest warriors. "Then the prophecy is true. The Deathworlders rise again. Prepare the Grand Armada. Humanity must be destroyed before the galaxy bows to them once more." Galaxy burned with rumors. Every broadcast, every starship tavern, every soldier's camp spoke the same name: humans on icy mining colonies. Workers huddled around holoscreens, whispering of the battle. On distant trading worlds, merchants argued in disbelief. Unconquered planets, slaves dared to hope. They replayed the images again, and again: Vehlon warships shattering, human dreadnoughts rising from the shadows of the nebula. But not everyone felt hope. Many felt fear. In the council chamber, chaos reigned. The delegates argued so loudly the walls shook. "They are monsters." One shouted, "They are saviors," countered another. "They hid for centuries, preparing for war. They must lead us, or we are doomed." At the center, the human chair glowed brighter with every word, its empty seat daring them to face the truth. The Chancellor pounded his staff. Silence. "The humans may be strong, but strength does not mean trust. They abandoned this galaxy once. What stops them from doing so again?" A trembling Ilari delegate spoke, her feathered wings quivering. "Perhaps they did not abandon us. Perhaps they prepared." The chamber fell silent at that word. Prepared. Far from the council, Admiral Mara Sayeed stood aboard the Resolute. The fleet around her glowed like a wall of steel and fire. Lara, still overwhelmed, approached her cautiously. "Admiral, I don't understand. How could you survive this long? How could you return stronger than before?" Mara's gaze hardened. She looked out at the stars, her voice low. "Because we are from Earth, and Earth is a death world." Mara tilted her head, confused. "Death world." Mara turned toward her. "A world where life fights every day to survive. Storms that flatten mountains, beasts with teeth sharper than steel, diseases that kill by the millions. Humans were forged in endless struggle. On Earth, you either adapt or die. Lara swallowed. Hard. She had studied the term in her books, but hearing it spoken now was different, terrifying, alive. Mara continued. When the galaxy abandoned us, we did what we always do. We adapted. We prepared. For centuries, our fleets slept in silence, and now we are awake. The officers of the Resolute nodded firmly, their faces grim. One spoke softly to Laura. We call it the Deathworld Doctrine. Humanity fights with everything until nothing remains but survival. We don't fight to win, we fight so we never lose. Another added, every weapon we build, every strategy we plan is made for one purpose: outlast the enemy, no matter who they are. Lorraine shivered. These were not the desperate survivors she expected. They were predators who had trained for the end of days, but not everyone in the galaxy was ready to believe. The Vehlon warlords gathered in their throne world citadel. Their armor gleamed black, their faces twisted with anger. The surviving commander knelt before them, shaking as he described the humans' weapons. They tore our dreadnought apart with a single beam. Their ships move like wolves. Their weapons bend reality. We could not silence, roared a warlord, striking him down with a blade. Excuses, they are only humans. But in the shadows of the chamber, deeper voices stirred. Not Vehlon voices. The overlords, the hidden masters of the Vehlon spoke. You fools, do you not remember? We warned you of this. Humans must never be allowed to rise again. The Vehlon bowed low, trembling before their unseen rulers. Back on the Resolute, Mara stood with Elaray on the observation deck. Through the window, fleets stirred human warships awakening from centuries of slumber, joining formation across the stars. There are so many, Lara whispered. Mara nodded. This is only the first fleet. Humanity scattered its strength across hidden systems, waiting for the day we were needed. We found one bastion, there are others. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers, all ready. Lara's throat tightened. You didn't disappear? You were waiting. Mara's voice was cold steel. The galaxy laughed when we vanished. They thought we were dead. But humanity does not die. We endure. And when the time comes, we strike. Across the galaxy, messages spread. 100. Alien rulers debated their choices. Would they bow to the Vehlon overlords or stand behind Earth's burning fleets? On one war-torn planet, a resistance leader whispered, if the humans fight, then so will we. On another, a child pointed at a holoscreen and asked, will they save us? Hope and fear spread together, inseparable, stoppable. The council gathered once more, the signal from the human fleet playing on the central holoscreen. Mara's face appeared before them, her eyes sharp, her voice echoing across worlds. This is Admiral Mara Sayeed of Earth Fleet Command. To all who hear this, humanity has returned. We will not kneel to tyrants. We will not watch worlds burn. We are from Earth, and we will fight until the stars themselves shatter. Her words struck like thunder. Some delegates rose in applause, others shouted in fury. But all of them knew the truth. The galaxy's balance had changed. On the Vehlon throne world, their overlords prepared a message for the galaxy. Their voices shook with rage as they declared, summon the Grand Armada. Summon every fleet, every soldier, every weapon we own. The humans are awake, and if they are not destroyed now, they will rule everything. In the shadows of deep space, millions of Vehlon ships began to gather. A storm like no other was coming, and humanity injilding, unbroken, was ready to meet it. The galaxy had never seen such a sight. From every conquered world, from every hidden dockyard, from every Vehlon stronghold, ships gathered, thousands, then tens of thousands. A tide of black steel that darkened suns and swallowed entire sectors. The Grand Armada of the Vehl on across the galaxy. People watched the broadcasts in silence. No empire, no council, no rebellion had ever faced such power. It was said no fleet in history could survive the coming storm. But deep within the nebula, the humans were already preparing. On the command deck of the Resolute, Admiral Mara Sayeed stood tall, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Dots representing enemy ships filled the screen until it looked like a sea of endless night. Her officers murmured. Some clenched their fists, others sharpened their focus. Yet no fear touched. Their faces, beside Mara, Lara stared in horror. That is more ships than I've ever seen. They will crush us. Even you cannot. Mara's voice cut through the tension, calm and sharp. The Vehlon believe numbers mean victory. They never learned what Earth learned long ago. The will to fight matters more than the size of the army. She turned to her crew, signaled the fleet. Formation Delta. Let's show the galaxy why humans endure. The battlefield was chosen near a dying star. A Vehlon Armada stretched across the void like a living wall. Carriers released swarms of fighters, dreadnoughts powered their cannons, and their warlords roared over open combs. Humans. You are nothing but vermin who defy the rightful rulers of the galaxy. Today, your kind ends forever. Mara answered only with silence. Then she whispered to her crew, Fire. The void lit up. Human battleships unleashed their fury. White beams cut through the dark like suns reborn. Missiles bent gravity, tearing whole Vehlon wings into pieces. Drone swarms darted like predators, shredding enemy hulls in seconds. The Leviathan, humanity's colossal warship, opened fire with its planet-cracker cannon. A single beam split through the Vehlon front line, erasing dozens of ships in one strike. For the first time, the galaxy saw the Grand Armada falter. But the Vehlon did not break easily. Their dreadnoughts surged forward, unleashing storms of plasma fire. Human shields flared bright, some cracking, some falling. A smaller frigate exploded, its crew vanishing in silence. Laura cried out, gripping the rail, You're losing ships! Mara did not look at her. Her voice was hard as steel. We came here to lose ships. We came here to bleed if we must. Because Earth's doctrine is simple. We fight until only one side stands. She raised her hand. Bring in the hidden wings. From behind the star's burning corpse, new human squadrons emerged, stealth fleets cloaked until this moment. They cut through the Vehlon rear, striking fuel carriers and command ships. Explosions rippled across the Armada. The Vehlon warlords roared in rage. Treachery, cowards. But their lines were breaking. Billions across the galaxy watched the live feeds. Civilizations that had once mocked humanity now stared in awe. A Zell child whispered to her father, They are fighting for all of us. In the council chamber, delegates froze, their arguments silenced. One by one, they leaned forward, watching in breathless silence as humans did the impossible. The battle raged for hours. Space was torn with fire and wreckage. Thousands of ships fell. But still the humans pressed forward, relentless, unyielding. At last, the Vehlon warlords realized the truth. Their armada, the greatest in galactic history, was shattering. Fall back, one cried. No. Hold the line, another shouted. But fear had already spread. Fleets broke apart, commanders abandoned their positions. What began as an unstoppable tide collapsed into chaos. On the bridge of the Resolute, Elray could hardly believe what she was seeing. They're retreating. Mara's eyes burned cold. Not retreating. Running. She turned to her officers. No mercy. Press the attack. Leave survivors only to spread the story. The human fleet surged forward, finishing what they had begun. Vehlon dreadnoughts cracked. Carriers burned. Fighters vanished in waves of fire. The Grand Armada, the terror of the stars was broken. When the battle ended, silence fell. Wreckage drifted across the void like a graveyard of steel. Fires burned quietly in the distance. Laura sank to her knees, her eyes wet. I never thought anyone could defeat them. Mara's gaze was steady, her voice firm. The galaxy forgets. Too quickly, but Earth remembers. No empire, no tyrant, No overlord has ever broken humanity, and none ever will. Her officers saluted in silence. Across the galaxy, hope spread like wildfire. Civilizations whispered the same words. The humans shattered the Grand Armada. The Vehlon are not invincible. The Deathworlders fight for us all. But, in the deep shadows, where the true masters of the Vehlon watched, silence turned to fury. They spoke in voices that chilled even their servants. The humans survived our purge. They shattered our army. Very well. It is time they learn why we hid behind the Vehlon. Prepare the ascendant fleets. If humanity thinks they have seen war, they have not yet seen us. As the galaxy celebrated humanity's victory, a darker storm gathered beyond known space. Ships older, larger, and deadlier than anything seen before began to stir. The humans had shattered the Armada. But the true war was only beginning. The galaxy shook with celebration. From hidden colonies to burned-out ruins, species across the stars whispered the same truth. The humans had shattered the Grand Armada. For the first time in living memory, the Vehlon had been defeated. Their fleets, once endless and unstoppable, drifted as wreckage across the stars. Hope spread like wildfire. Rebellions rose. Slaves sharpened blades. Children spoke of freedom, but deep in the shadows, the Vehlon were not broken. They were afraid, and fear made them call upon the masters they had long kept hidden in the throne world citadel. The surviving Vehlon warlords gathered in silence. Their armor, once polished black, was scorched and cracked. Their eyes, once burning with arrogance, now shifted nervously. At the center of the chamber, a portal of shimmering dark light opened. From it, voices spilled forth, not Vehlon voices, but something older, colder. You failed us. The warlords bowed low, their bodies trembling. Forgive us, lords, the humans. We did not know they endured. The voices hissed like knives. We warned you, the Deathworlders are unlike others. No. That is why they were hunted. Why they were erased. One warlord raised his head, defiant. We still have ships we can rebuild. Weakened, the chamber darkened. The warlord screamed, his body crumbling to ash in seconds. Silence followed. The hidden master spoke again. You will obey. Now the ascendant fleets will rise. You will finish what you could not. The humans must be crushed before they bring the galaxy to its knees. Meanwhile, aboard the resolute Admiral Mara Sayeed stood at the command table, her officers surrounding her. Wreckage from the Grand Armada still floated across the sector, silent and cold, but Mara did not celebrate. Her eyes were fixed on the data streams, on strange readings from the edge of known space. Something is wrong, she murmured. Dadalara, standing close beside her, frowned. Wrong? You destroyed the greatest armada in history. The galaxy has hope again. Mara's expression did not change. And yet, the Vehlon never fight alone. They always had something behind them. Something no one wanted to believe. Looked at her crew. Bring up the ancient files. Project Eclipse. The room darkened as holoscreens flickered alive. Files long locked under Earth fleet encryption filled the air. Array stared in confusion as she saw images of vast ships larger than moons, older than empires. These are not Vehlon, she whispered. Mara nodded grimly. No, these are the ones who ruled them, the overlords. A hidden empire pulling the strings from the dark. They erased their name from the stars, but Earth remembered. The files showed burning human colonies, shattered ships, cities turned to ash. LRA gasped. They were the ones who tried to exterminate you. Yes, Mara said softly. The Vehlon were only their tools. They feared humanity's rise. They unleashed their servants to wipe us out. We disappeared. Not because we were weak, but because we chose to vanish before their full might arrived. We hid. We prepared. We waited for the right time to strike back. Her eyes burned cold. And now they are coming again, across the stars. The first signs appeared. Entire sectors went silent overnight. Fleets sent to patrol never returned. Stars themselves dimmed, as if swallowed by something vast and unseen. On one frontier world, a child looked to the night sky and screamed as the stars vanished, blotted out by the silhouette of ships larger than continents. The ascendant fleets had begun to move. The council gathered once more. Delegates shouted in panic. Another enemy? Stronger than the Vehlon? This is impossible. They will devour us all. Some looked to the human chair, still empty, but glowing brighter every day. Whispers spread through the chamber. Only the humans can stand against them. But will they fight for us or only themselves? The Chancellor trembled, torn between hope and fear. On the Resolute, Lorray pressed Mara for answers. Why didn't you tell the council sooner? Why keep this secret? Mara's gaze was sharp as glass, because they would not believe. The galaxy laughs at ghosts until they see them. Now they will see. Lara's voice shook. But if these overlords are so powerful, can you even win? Mara turned, her face unreadable. We do not fight because we know we will win. We fight because surrender is worse than death. That is the Deathworld Doctrine. Her crew saluted, their eyes hard. A transmission cut through the void. Not Vehlon this time. Something deeper, colder. A voice that seemed to come from the darkness between stars. Humans. You crawl from your grave thinking the galaxy belongs to you. We are the first. We are. The last, we ruled before your world had fire. We will rule after your ashes scatter. The bridge fell silent. Even Lara trembled, her skin pale. Mara only leaned forward, her voice sharp and calm. Then you've already forgotten. Humanity does not bow. We rise. And we will tear your empire apart, piece by piece. The transmission ended. The crew waited for her orders. Mara spoke with steel in her voice, signaled the fleets, prepare the galaxy.
The real war has just begun.
From the edge of known space, titanic shadows advanced ships that blotted out suns. Engines roaring like the birth of stars. The overlords had come. The galaxy watched in terror. But among the humans, only fire burned, because the Deathworlders had been waiting for this war for centuries. The galaxy had gone silent. From the dark edge of known space, the ascendant fleets emerged. They were not like the Vehlon. These ships were Titans hulks of black stone and living metal, their shapes shifting like nightmares. Each vessel was larger than cities, their weapons glowing with the cold light of dying suns, where they passed. Stars dimmed. Where they struck, worlds vanished. The overlords had come. In the council chamber, fear reigned. Glex shouted, their voices breaking. They will destroy everything. Not even the humans can stop this. We are finished. The Chancellor struck his staff, but even his voice shook. We must appeal to them. We must surrender. No. The voice silenced the chamber. It was not the Chancellor's. It came from the holoscreens, glowing brighter than ever. Admiral Mara Sayeed's face appeared, cold and steady. Earth does not surrender. Humanity does not kneel. If the galaxy cannot fight, then stand aside. We will fight for you. On the deck of the Resolute, Mara stood tall. Around her, the human fleet stretched across the void. Tens of thousands of ships now awakened from centuries of silence. Their engines glowed like suns, their weapons primed. At her side, Elaray trembled, her violet eyes wide. Admiral, those ships are beyond anything we've faced. They'll erase you. You cannot win. Mara looked at her calmly. Perhaps, but we are from Earth and on Earth. Nothing survives without struggle. This is our nature. We fight even. If the stars themselves fall, her voice sharpened. Signal every fleet, every ally. This is the final stand. Across the galaxy, the call went out. On broken colonies, rebels took up arms. On slave worlds, chains shattered. Species who had mocked humanity now begged to join them. 1,000 banners rose beside Earth's flag. For the first time in history, the galaxy united. Not under fear, but under humanity. The battlefield was chosen near Sol itself. Earth's ancient homeworld hung silent below, its blue. oceans shining faintly under the shadow of the oncoming armada. Billions across the stars tuned in to watch. Every eye, every heart, waited for the clash that would decide the future. The Overlord fleet arrived like a storm, blotting out the sun. Their voices echoed across all frequencies, cold and final. Humans, you should have stayed buried. Today, your kind ends. Mara's reply was calm, yet filled with fire. No, today, the galaxy remembers who we are. The battle began. The Overlords struck first. Beams of black energy tore across space, ripping human ships apart. Dozens of vessels vanished in the first volley. Entire formations collapsed, but the humans did not falter. Their fleets surged forward, unleashing everything. White beams lanced into the void. Missiles bent gravity itself. Drones swarmed like predators. The Leviathan fired its planet cracker, splitting an Overlord Titan in half. The void became fire. On the bridge, Laura clung to the rail. We're losing too many. Mara's eyes burned cold. Loss is the cost of survival. On Earth we learned. This long ago. What matters is not how many fall, but that we stand when it ends. Her crew saluted her words, faces grim, hearts unbroken. The Overlords unleashed horrors-living weapons that burrowed into ships. Storms of plasma that swallowed fleets whole. Human losses mounted. Flames lit the skies above Earth, but the humans adapted. Every strike, every tactic, they countered. Sacrifice after sacrifice, they pushed forward. A small destroyer rammed an Overlord carrier, detonating its core. A squadron of drones overloaded their reactors, racing an enemy Titan in a suicidal blaze. Humanity bled, but they never stopped. At the height of the battle, the Overlord flagship advanced, a vessel the size of a moon, its surface alive with writhing energy, its weapon charged, a sphere of darkness meant to consume Earth itself. Billions watching across the galaxy held their breath. Mara's voice rang clear across every channel. This is Earth's fleet command. To every soldier, every ship, every ally, hold the line. We'll not let them take our home. Today humanity stands. The human fleet surged, focusing all fire on the flagship. Beams cut deep, missiles tore through its armor. But still it advanced, its weapon growing brighter. At the last moment, Mara made her choice. She turned to her crew. Prepare ramming. Of course, the Resolute will strike the heart. Her officers froze. Admiral Yule, she cut them off. This is the cost. Earth must live. Humanity must rise. If I fall, then let the galaxy remember this moment. Lara's voice cracked. No, you can't. Mara's gaze softened for only a breath. Child, this is who we are. From the day Earth was born, we fought to survive. Remember that. Gave the order. The Resolute roared forward, engines burning brighter than suns. The Overlord flagship fired, black energy lancing toward Earth. But before it could strike, the Resolute smashed into its core. Light consumed the void. The Overlord flagship cracked, split, and detonated in a wave of fire that tore through the fleet. The Ascendant fleets faltered. Leaderless, broken, they began to collapse. The galaxy roared. Hours later, silence returned. The battlefield was a graveyard of wreckage. Human ships drifted, damaged but alive. The Overlord's Titans burned, their reign shattered. Lyra stood among the survivors, her eyes filled with tears. She whispered to herself, they did it. The humans. They saved us all. Across the galaxy, people cheered. Chains broke. Banners rose. The age of the Overlords had ended. And at the heart of it all, humanity stood not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as survivors who refused to kneel. Epilogue on Earth's surface. Children looked to the sky, where debris burned like falling stars. They whispered stories of Admiral Mara Sayeed, the woman who rammed a god and won. The Council, once divided, now bent to Earth's will not through fear, but through respect, and across the stars, one truth became eternal. Humanity had returned, humanity had endured. Humanity would never be forgotten again.